So we're good. We're good. We're good. Okay. Jeff, you want to tell him to scratch it?
All right. Got after 9 a.m. I will call the regular meeting of Commissioners Court for August 10th session. And if everyone would rise, I'll ask Commissioner Darden if he would give an invocation, then we will remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, this morning I come to you, Lord, and I'm so proud to let you know, Lord, that we know everything comes from you and all good comes from you. Lord, just appreciate so much green pastures in July and August, Lord, very unusual for us. Lord, just appreciate that so much. Lord, just also want to bring forth our veterans, Lord, that's protecting our country. Just ask you to put a watchful hand over them, who are our leaders in government, and watch over them as well. Lord, just ask you to help to end the pandemic going on, Lord, and help us get that in control. And Lord, we just ask for your guidance and knowledge and understanding this morning for this court as we conduct county business. Lord, just ask you to watch over us, guide us, as we ask in Christ's precious name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, so we'll go to item 3, which is public comments. Do we have any public comments? No public comments. So go to number 4, which is our consent agenda, which includes the approval of our prior minutes, examine all accounts and reports relating to finances of the county, audit and settle all accounts against the county and direct their payment, and approve payroll. And let me say on item C, you should have in your packets, we did have a late bill that came in, and that is on the payment for the annex building.
I'll make a motion, Judge, to approve the consent agenda include the late bill. I don't have the exact amount in there, but I'm sure you got it, had you, Jennifer?
$9,976.25.
Add the 99.76.26 to the late bills.
Got a motion by Commissioner Langford, a second by Commissioner Mayfield. All in favor? All voted for. to item number 5, Colin Murphy. Report on our Veteran Services Officer's update.
Morning, Judge,
How are you?
Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. This is my first update since this COVID stuff, so it includes March through July. And it says income, on the sheet I gave you, it says income received from the VA claims for this period was $69,000. That's not correct. It's actually $269,717. The monument fund has $7,644, but we got a $3,000 payment going to Lancaster for what he put on in memorial, and he hasn't cashed that check yet. So, but you will soon, I'm sure. And we didn't track. It was difficult to track people coming in, seeing as we were closed for a couple of weeks. So I'm not tracking those just yet, but we are tracking the claims. We have 51 claims currently from veterans at the VA. They shut down the regional office. Everyone went home. They're working from home. So things are getting delayed now. If you make a call in and people are working from home, it's difficult for them to get the resources and stuff. So everything is slowed down with the VA. So I expect this number to just keep going up and up and up until they get back into their building. Pending appeals is 64. We have 64 appeals going. The oldest one is 5 years old, which to me that's great. We've had 10-year-old appeals going, so 5 years is not too bad, and it's coming down. So optimistic. The plan for the VA is to have 120-day appeals, and they'll have the results in 120 days. I see that never happening, but the closer they get to that, the better. And their average is right around 6 months right now. But these older claims are just hanging out there, awaiting something. Certain stuff like archives where they store all the records, they're closed, so they can't get any records. So if these appeals are waiting on records from archives, then they're just waiting until those guys go back to work, and that's in St. Louis. So nobody knows when that's going to happen. So these numbers are going to go up, but they're still working, and we're still working, and we're helping veterans. We just had our outreach at the Watermelon Festival in Forestburg. We helped 17 veterans there. So we were proud of that. That's our average, and I expected less than average. So that was a good deal. So we're happy that happened. So all right. That's all I got.
Thank you. The work's appreciated. All right. Item number 6 is discuss and consider the Montague County 2021 holiday and take necessary action. And I think each of you should have a copy of the county holiday calendar.
Make a motion to approve the holidays for 2021.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Murphy, a second by Commissioner Langford. Any further discussion? All in favor? Number 7 is discuss and consider approving and authorizing Judge Benton to sign the home delivered meal grant program resolutions provided by the Texas Department of Agriculture and take necessary action. And what I've got is these documents for both the Carpenter Shop in Nakona and the Bowie Senior Citizens Project in Texas.
Motion, Judge, to approve. You authorize the signature on the home delivery meal grant. You're the one that needs to sign it, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Second. A motion by Commissioner Langford, a second by Commissioner Murphy. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. All right, we'll go to item number 8, which is discuss and consider approving the application for the Coronavirus Relief Fund grant and take necessary action. And Mr. Lanier, do you want to speak on this?
If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them. It's a grant that basically we can spend from the CARES Act that allows us to reimburse ourselves for expenses not budgeted that are directly related to coronavirus prevention and mitigation.
This is funds, for instance, sanitation stations that we bought, building the glass shields in clerks' offices. Any additional expenses that we might incur for, and I know Mr. Lanier is looking at some options on sanitizing courtrooms and clerks' offices. Also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I am wrong, one of the things that we'll be looking at is additional costs that are likely to occur in our elections office due to the extension of early voting. And I think that we may be able to get reimbursed for those.
What about,
Personnel.
I've had to pay, I had one guy that had it, another guy that
Yes.
for 3 days, do they reimburse for that?
If you hired somebody to take his place or brought in temporary help, that could be covered. It won't reimburse you for his salary being out, but if you replaced him, it would reimburse the replacement salary.
I think it's 80% match, isn't it, Charlie?
No, there's no match required.
Oh, it's not.
No match required.
Okay. I guess that's 20% on application then.
Right. When we submit the application, which Judge Benton has to sign, then we get credit for 20% of the $580,635 is the total grant. And we get 20% of that upon application to immediately reimburse us. And then if we spend more than the 20%, we submit reimbursement requests and TDM reimburses us for any amount over that up to the $580,000.
See how this is anything but a win-win. I don't know what Larry and Sean have spent on the guards that they put in the clerk's office, and both clerk's office gonna put another in the taxpayer. Look nice, they'll reimburse us for their salary, and I guess for all the
Materials and
the time they spend on it.
If anything over and above, if they've done any overtime, comp time, they do reimburse us for that.
That's huge.
And one unique piece of this also is we can share it out with the school districts and the unincorporated towns. So if school districts have incurred expenses that they hadn't budgeted for, we can help them cover some of those expenses with this grant as well.
I bet they'll have a lot.
I can tell you from experience, we do.
It appeared to me to be a very lucrative endeavor, and Mr. Lanier has jumped into it with both feet and done a good job.
Who needs to sign it, Judge? You
Judge
or?
Benton.
I'll make a motion to approve the Corona Relief Fund grant and give you the authority to sign it.
So a motion by Commissioner Langford, a second by Commissioner Darden. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Okay, number 9, which is to discuss and consider approving the appointment of the 2020-2021 election judges and alternate judges and take necessary action. Ginger, do you want to speak to that at all?
I just wanted to let everybody know, I didn't change it on this form. I will change it. Well, I'll have to bring it to the commissioner's court also. But I have 2 buildings that I'm going to be moving temporarily in the November election due to the 6 feet apart requirements. And that will be for the public library in Bowie. It will move to the community center in Bowie if it's approved. I haven't brought that in to y'all yet. I just wanted y'all to be aware. And then the Trails and Trails Museum in Nocona will move to the Veranda Inn across the highway. But everything else is the same.
But you'll bring those locations as a change on another
Yes,
agenda item. This today is
this is just my yearly notice.
the appointment of the election judges and the
Yes.
alternate judges.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2021 election judges that's on this list.
Second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Murphy and a second by Commissioner Langford. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. I got item number 10, which is discuss and consider naming a private road in precinct number 4 off of Starkey Road according to the Transportation Code and take necessary action.
Judge, I put this on here, and I think everybody's well aware that people are starting to move into this county pretty heavy. And that's approached by over here off of Starkey Road, just a little bit north of the Avens. It's actually a real nice oil field road that goes in there, and they're fixing to sell that off in lots and develop that in there. And talking to Nortex, they were telling me the guys wanting to name it, David Fenolio in Nocona, but they're wanting to name it ahead. That way, when they go in there for these 911 addresses, Nortex is telling me it'd be a whole lot easier if they've got the private road already named. Yeah, so I'd like to make the motion to name. Of course, I've got to go through a public hearing, but I want to make the motion to get this started. One other thing I was visiting with you a little bit about, I've got a public hearing scheduled for next court meeting, but I think you've got 2 in there for the budget, and I'll move it. It's no problem. I'll have to change the date and re-advertise it, but I don't really think there would be any problem of having both of these at the same public hearing, the same 15 minutes, 2 different subjects. It'll be a vacating a little bit of land out the trade winds plus this naming of this road. And if I can do that, I'd just soon do all of that on our next court meeting in September, if that'll work, if that's got everything out of your way. That'll be September the 14th. And
The
I'll
next
have,
meeting, Bob, is August the 24th.
yes, but y'all have got 2 public hearings next week.
We've got 2 that we're going to request, so it'll be almost impossible to get another one in.
Yeah, we'd have to start 45 minutes ahead of time to do that, and I'll just hold this up and move it till September the 14th, 9. Yeah, and because it's going to already have to be here at 8:30 to have these other 2.
Just go ahead and do it both.
I don't see a problem with that. There'll be 2 different subjects on there, one vacating a portion of a road and then naming this, but anybody wants to show up, I don't think it'll be. But anyway, I'll make the motion to start this according to the Transportation Code and have the public hearing on September the 14th at 8:45.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Langford and a second by Commissioner Darden. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. All right, item number 11, discuss and consider permission for precinct 3 to sell a Ferguson pneumatic rubber tire roller and take necessary action.
Judge, that's just an old roller that we don't use anymore. The fixed asset number is 3813. I don't have a VIN number on it, but anyway, I'll get some other items ready for auction, so I'm gonna go ahead and sell it. Make that informal motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Murphy, a second by Commissioner Langford. Any discussion? All in favor? All voted for. Item number 12, discuss and consider replat of lot 248 and lot 249 of the Silver Lakes Ranch, Phase 3, and take necessary action.
That's mine, Judge. I'll make a motion to accept that replat 248 and 249 Silver Lakes.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Mayfield and a second by Commissioner Langford. Any discussion? All in favor? All voted for. We have item 13, which is discuss and consider replat of lot 657 and lot 658 of the Silver Lakes Ranch. Phase 7, take necessary action.
I'll make that motion and accept that replat to 657, 658 of Silver Lakes.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Mayfield, a second by Commissioner Langford. Any discussion? All in favor? All voting for. And then I think, gentlemen, what I'd like to do, we'll take item number 18, our budget workshop, and take it out of order and move it to our next item. I think it's just going to make more sense to work that out before we get into the balance of these items. And so on our budget workshop items, do we have anybody that wishes to speak? Okay.
Good morning. I'm coming to you this morning to discuss the secretarial position in my office. What I'm initially requesting is that salary be increased by $18,200. I think is the rough estimate for raising that position to a deputy position. The reason I am bringing this to your attention is because the needs of the office have changed. It is no longer a matter of whether we're just accepting payments or filing things in file cabinets or that sort. It's a matter of the legislator has changed the laws on us. And in order to meet those requirements, the fourth position I have in my office really should be a deputy because it's doing the same work as the others. With that being said, my office alone was impacted pretty drastically in regards to motor vehicle and taxes. So as you guys know, Senate Bill 2, everything's changed with truth in taxation, with how we collect taxes. It's just, there's a tremendous amount of work behind it. However, I'd like to focus on the motor vehicle side. With that said, currently I'm dealing with, in a sense, is what's considered a shortage. And the shortage being is I don't have a person that is fully responsible to be a backup individual. And right now I'm dealing with, the legislator has changed to where we have a massive amount of training now. So what they've done is they've required training that in order for us to process a transaction, just a standard renewal, you have to go through all this training. Initially, Angie was being used as an individual that could process just regular registration. Well, now we have the need for her to process titles as well. So with that being said, the knowledge you have to process titles and military transactions, special needs, it's drastic, and they've put under us 52 modules alone, which are 30 minutes apiece. That comes up to a total of 26 hours in training. Not only that, we're dealing with a shortage in the sense of the requirements they put on us to review our own work. So Lisa has to take out 2 to 3 hours a day to review the number of titles we do on a daily basis. That leaves Christy alone processing difficult situations. Because the reason she's alone is I'm processing other tasks that I have to take care of and that I'm assigned to. So with all that said, the shortage comes from when you take into consideration vacations for the year, lunches that we have to take daily, sick time that people are out, all kinds of issues. We're dealing with 15 weeks a year where we have a shortage and I have to step in and step away from my role to take care of the needs that need to be taken care of. I have to fill into that individual position. And while that's okay on one side, the other side is what happens when I have to be out at the same time. So, perfect example this morning, Lisa's out. That leaves Christy alone this morning, because I'm here in court. She's there with Angie. Now, Angie can process regular registrations, but we're averaging roughly about 400 titles a month. Now, with that, I know that sounds crazy, but it's internet sales. The dealership titles that we're getting in are ridiculous. The volume is crazy. So I'm asking you guys to take into consideration not to compare offices as a whole. I know that's what generally, is the thing to do, but this is a unique situation. It's a completely different office than other offices, and the position that we need to fill, they're completely different requirements. So I humbly come before you and ask that you definitely consider the need, because it is there. Because I have to step up often, and I would really like to focus, where I need to have my focus for that office and to be able to run it effectively. And again, what it boils down to is roughly about $18,200 for the year.
Let me ask you something, Kathy. How does change in the salary affect what you just told me though?
Changing the salary,
If she's in there, full-time person at a reduced salary, is she not qualified to do every job that you just mentioned?
no,
Why not? Because
Because-
she doesn't, she's not named a deputy.
she's not named a deputy, so I hold her back because she's paid $12 and some change an hour. My other employees are paid their deputy salary. So I'm not gonna ask her to do the same amount of work that they're doing, just on principle.
Well,
Because
what's the difference in that and us having a part-time guy driving a truck? He's got a CDL and he's not drawing what a full-time. So, I mean, that's your opinion not to do that.
it is my opinion, yes.
But-
Because
I'm against any kind of pay raise this time of year. This year, especially with what all's going on, it's just not.
and I can
We're
understand,
lucky that we're not cutting jobs.
I agree with you.
And that's how I feel about the situation. I mean,
I know you're probably the only one in the office, older Kathy, that doesn't realize what those positions were created, why they were created at a reduced salary. Because and let me just get this out, everybody knows how I stand on this. They were done to give you a full-time position at a cheaper rate for the county, because you can't get the training to a part-time position. I understand that, and that's the reason it was done here. To me, it's not a correction, it was intentional that where they're at right now. I don't see, I ask my men to do every job that each one of them do. Of course, like the full-timers make all the same amount of money, but the part-timers, just because they're part-time, I'm expecting them to do exactly what I need them to do. I may pay them less.
May I ask, is the hourly rate the same whether they're part-time or full-time?
no, it's different.
It's different.
It's
It is
lower.
different.
The part-time, they can draw up to $17 an hour
And no benefits.
and no benefits. But they do the same work as a full-time guy.
Okay,
Whatever, we work from fence to fence, and it don't matter what it is, who you are. If you don't want to do it,
I know that probably really is a little different than apples to apples in an office that relies on what you're doing, and there's not the same, because I don't want to have to do that. But again,
And that is, we're talking about part-time, she's talking about full-time, she got full-time, two different full-time salaries.
But what they
It was a
were
benefit
was
to
a
them.
part-time, but they made it full-time.
it was a benefit to them, so they could get benefits, insurance, and retirement and everything, so they would have that. It was easier to get a reduced salary.
Okay, but
may I answer your question, the rest of your question is, that's wonderful. I think it's awesome that you guys did that, and you're right, I do not know the history at all. With that being said, the difference in salary between a full-time deputy and the secretarial position, it boils down to roughly $6 to $7 an hour. I don't know the exact figure in my head, but that's the difference. And So when you look at someone that is making $12 an hour, you have to assess what are their responsibilities going to be. So
What their job title is.
what their job is, their secretarial. And that's what I have tried to keep her at. And her, what I'm essentially saying is what the comptroller requires, what the laws require us. It's a matter of, you have to have people that are mentally capable of really comprehending what we're doing. And I need that in my office. The reason I'm asking for it is because I'm personally liable. And I realize that is not, something that matters in this situation, but I'm not going to place someone in a position that I feel, they deserve more pay for. I'm going to go with the role, that they're paid for. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and believe me, I've realized the complications this year. I just need to get this out and on the table, so.
I understand. I appreciate it, Kathy, coming in here. I don't agree with the way you look at that. I mean, look at that position.
Right.
I think they should be able to do everything the deputy does. But, I understand exactly where you're coming from.
A $12 an hour job, secretary job in Montague County with benefits
It's wonderful.
is not a bad job.
No, it's not.
For Montague County.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not knocking that she's good at what, but that's not that bad of a job
Right.
for here.
No, it's not. It's a wonderful position. I'm just saying it doesn't fit the role of what our needs are. The needs of the office are different from a secretarial role. That's the difference here.
One of the biggest problems I see in this whole deal is when all this was done, everything was the way it was then. Things have changed, legislation's changed, e-filing and all this other mess has come in. It's changed a lot of things. I agree with you, Kathy. I think because what it's going to boil down to, or what it does boil down to, is it's going to cause dissension. Because you got this person hired in back then that says, hey, you're going to make $12 an hour. And then they look up one day and they're having to do everything everybody else is doing. They're still doing it for the same amount of pay. And that wasn't what they signed up for.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
Which
And I explained to Angie up front, because when I came into the role, just so you guys know, when I first came into the role, I worked that position. And I chose as an individual to learn everything I could possibly learn, because that's who I am. I want to help as where I can. But also with that said, when I took over as the tax assessor collector, I knew it wasn't fair. I knew that everything I did I was not paid the same amount of pay. I did exactly everything else everyone did. Now, I don't want to come to the court and say this isn't fair with this, that's not what it's about. I don't want to bring that to the table. I want to bring, to the table the actual need of office, and.
I agree with you. The biggest asset this county got the people. You need to take care of the people. That's
Right.
how I look at it. But
I've talked with Kathy, I've talked to each of the offices that have one of these positions. And I think finalized talking with each of them on Friday afternoon. And I'm in the same boat. I wasn't here when all this originally began, so I can't speak to that. What it does appear is that, just like Angela in my office, I think those positions like that one was originally created as a receptionist job. And then duties have been added and added. And until each of these people, in talking to the different department heads, each of these individuals have had additional duties piled on them, so that, and I guess you're holding yours back, but I think that was the reason that everybody's looking to try to even these salaries out, because you've got people lined up that are doing either more work than they originally were hired to do, or lined up doing the same job as the person next to them that's making more.
Well, my experience with that, Kathy, is 35 years ago, I was hired as a mechanic one.
Mhm.
I did the same thing that the mechanic fours did.
Mhm.
But I had to stay and work until one left, and then I would become a mechanic two, and then a mechanic three, mechanic four. And I did that. But we just knew going in, we did the same work as they did.
Right.
To build up to that, that's what we did. That's the only thing I can compare it to.
Right.
So, I stayed with it, and 10 years I was,
Yeah, and I did explain that to Angie. I said, once Brenda retires, you have an opportunity to step into that deputy role. My issue is that, I'm not gonna say it. Anyways, we're looking at that being 2 years down the road. So.
I'd like to know what our HR department take on this is, because you got a job description.
Well, and with that said, I did compare, I looked at other counties. I looked at other counties and I was like, does the county clerk and the district clerk make the same as the tax deputies? And across the board, the various counties, the salaries were different. You know, they weren't a standard package. They weren't looked at as a standard role. So that's where I started my investigation I looked into this for months because believe me, I did not want to bring this to the table. I really didn't, but it's a matter of principle for me, and it's something I felt I had to get out there. And, in order to give peace of mind to myself, give peace of mind to Angie, that I'm going to bat for her because I feel it's right.
I'd say I understand completely, but if these reduced salaries would not have been put in place, you would be in here asking for my part-time position to be moved to full-time, because that's what every office that's got reduced was looking at, 15 to 20,000 put in their office for part-time help.
Right.
And that was it.
Right.
And
you're right, I would. And it's, again, it comes down to when that was looked at back then, the oil field was booming. There was clerical duties to be had. Now we've switched from the clerical duties to, you have to mentally be capable to run these jobs. And it is a tremendous amount of responsibility to take on to understand what the legislative wants you to do.
understand completely.
Thank you.
thank you.
Judge, I need to raise my cash reserve in my M&E 60,000 on my budget. The insurance, our building, no, I ain't gonna have time to fix it this year. I want to start trying to use it next year.
You have ours, don't you, Jennifer, that we've turned into you? That's the way you've said it, haven't you? Okay.
Let's say the same, leave them the same.
Y'all haven't made any changes since the proposed, so.
No, from last year to this year, I just dropped my cash reserves down to 200,000 instead of 3.
I don't have mine in front of me. You know where mine was at. My cash reserves. Sorry, I was.
So you can put that in the form of a motion? Yes, sir, I'm sorry, in form of motion.
I'll second that for you, man.
So we have that $60,000 increase, motion made by Commissioner Mayfield, a second by Commissioner Langford. Any discussion? All in favor? All for? All right. If we don't have anyone else to speak, I think you've each got.
Could I say something?
Certainly.
Excuse me. I'm just going to stand right here. I would like to reiterate what Kathy has said, not to beat a dead horse, but as an officer that has an elected official that has one of those positions in my office as well. You're right. I was here when it was a part-time position, and we came to the court for help, and y'all created these quote unquote secretarial positions. And at that time, I can only speak for myself and for Glenda because we're both clerks, but those were considered record clerk positions where they filed
Cooled files did mainly stuff to do with record management in your office. They did searches, that type of thing. And it has evolved into use in ways that were never intended when you hired them at that salary. And I know she does, but I feel as she does that I need to say it as well while we're talking about it. And then y'all can decide whatever y'all need to decide. But it's really bad for morale in the office when you're doing exactly the same job and you're getting a considerable amount less of pay, and you were not hired on to do those jobs, and you were told what your position would be. You know, they're given a job description at the time that they are hired. And as everybody else can attest to, job duties have increased over time, just like all of y'all's have in your precincts and everything else. You've got people doing things now that to cover other spots and in ways that I don't understand, but I know y'all have the same issues. It's just in a different way. But I would really like to see y'all think about that and consider it a little bit more, because it is a big deal to all of us when you're trying to not play favorites, you're trying to compensate your employees for the work that they do. And I do feel like they do a lot more than they did when that job was created several years ago. And I just wanted to say that, like I felt like I needed to say that for my employees. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yes, I'd like to say something.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure a lot of thought was given into that secretary position a few years ago when that was created. I'll let you know that reduced one of my deputies about $13,000 a year. I came close to losing an employee over that. One that was well-trained, one that did every job that my other 3 deputies do. In our office, a deputy is to take place of the superior. When I'm not there, that girl signs my name. Just like the sheriff's office, when Marshall's not there, those guys can sign his name or sign for him, you know, or do his power. And that's what we deputize those employees for. So since that happened and they reduced that deputy of mine to a secretary position, I pulled back on her. I'm kind of like Kathy. I don't think it's right to put all the duties of a deputy on that person that has been reduced back down to a receptionist job or a secretary job. So I totally get where Kathy and Lisa are coming from, and I just wish we could do an overview of these salaries in these offices. These jobs are not all the same. I don't know why these jobs were created that way. I guess they've been that way forever. I don't know, but it's very difficult to distinguish when you've got 4 of them in there that one of them is not up to par with the rest of them. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I wish you guys would thoroughly, maybe this year, no, next year, yes. You guys need to think about all that, because that created a problem, I think, just my opinion.
Well, just to let you know, Linda, I've given it a lot of thought myself, and I do think there is a way to help that out, son, right there. And I think it can be done with a type of longevity pay that increases whoever's been here the longest. And I've discussed it. It's just not my year. I've tried to be fair and give people a raise every other year, be a part of that, not just me. Of course, been part of it. But I think we can accomplish that maybe. But it's something that it can't be taken care of this year, but it will. For I think about that myself. I've been here 28 years. I make the same as the other commissioners do. I'm always found me, I'm proud to have a job right here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think it needs to be
I don't think that's
reviewed.
right either. I think go be making more.
You know, with a type of longevity pay, it will increase it some. And I think it will make a big benefit. You know, the one trouble, if we, just like the 5% raise, if we put that in your budget, it's hard for you to go in there and say, all right, this girl gets 6%, the next girl gets 4, the next one gets 3. If you do that, you're really gonna cause trouble in your, but with this longevity type raise, it'll be discussed in here in court, and I think it will be something that will, I think will help a lot. But,
You know, I think you guys are gonna face this every year.
oh, you know, the trouble with across the board 5% raise, it gets, occasionally gets somebody's salary out of whack. Just like in the sheriff's department, we've had to go in to increase or decrease stuff just to keep the sergeant from not making less than the corporal does. You know, that's.
Biggest problem also is that 5% raise is, the rich get richer and poor don't get much more.
Well, the 5% raise across the board is a pretty good check, really. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but you're making $80,000 a year and you get a what, $2,000 raise or $4,000 raise, but if you're making $30,000 a year, that 5% is $1,500, you know? And that guy making $80,000 probably get by on less than that $4,000, so it ought to be staggered.
It may do it, but it's
5% at the bottom, 3%, 2% on up. Break it up.
with the type of longevity raise, it will do that right there.
That's what I mean, from what we're doing on the 5% straight across, because the others get built up quick in a high rank. Those guys, not the workers.
It gives them a little incentive to stay here. You know, we don't have much turnover, you know, as far as in the offices here, but I know Marshall or the sheriff's department and jails have lots of turnover, but I think it's something that really needs to be looked at next year as far as that is, as far as these 5 positions right here.
I think when we look at it, we need to look at everything, just like we may want to put time clocks in these places. I know there's offices that are out of here by 3 o'clock in the afternoon and here at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's, you know, where Linda, Lisa, tax office, all these don't have that privilege of being able to walk in and walk out. You know, so, which causes more dissension when the girls get up, walk down the hall, and toss their clothes and stuff, and then that bothers them. Look how hard we're having to work. These other people make the same amount of money we are, they're not even here. And you get into all that, so I think we ought to go through it and try to fix it the best we can all the way around.
I'm not on board for any type of time clock. You don't want to really screw people up around here and make.
I didn't say we had to have, I said we may want to, but I'm just saying, if people's gonna leave here half a day, let them half a day.
The thing that you don't know when they're here past 5 o'clock either. We don't know what goes on here. You know, you're just here a certain amount of time. You don't know what's here after 5 or before 6 or 8 o'clock in the morning. We don't know what's going on. It's not my job to know what goes on as far as offices. Each one of them elected officer to take care of themselves.
Well, some of them ain't elected offices.
No, but they're held accountable.
All right. Ginger, you want to speak?
Yes. I had to make some adjustments to my original budget, and after hearing Charlie talk about the other grant,
Is that something that will help with election judges?
Your election job, I think so.
If I have to bring in extra?
I think so.
because I received a proclamation from the governor, and we're gonna have 3 weeks of early voting now in October that I'm gonna have to cover, which I did not originally have in my budget. So that's why there's a few adjustments in there. But it may be something that I can work with Charlie with to help out getting everything paid that I need to get paid in October and November.
Is that, Ginger, what we put, you know, off years, you take your election judges, some of it out, but I think we've left it in there to look at, other than the rental agreement, which is $1,850 more. If
Yes.
that's basically all you're raising your
Vista,
Yeah,
yes.
But- leaving everything else in there to cover your early voting.
Yes, that's just to cover my part-time, and my election judges and clerks due to the extra week or 4 days that were added to early voting. I also wanted, there's another grant, that Charlie and I have been working on. And I can, order 10 more, express vote machines, our ballot, machines, the ballot selection machine. If I get 10, I got a quote for 4, because if I do the 10, it's gonna raise my budget. I mean, the grant will pay this year, but for years to come, my yearly service agreements will go up. If I order 4 machines with this grant, it will go up $740 for my rental and agreements. If I order 10, which I'll have an extra for each location on election day, it will go up $1,850.
How much?
$1,850. Sorry, per year in my rental and agreements.
Is that what the 1850 is in there for though this year?
No,
It's
that's
not.
for Vista. That's for my scanning in my office. This is something for my election. My
Have you
express
already,
votes.
excuse me, I'm sorry, didn't mean to. Have you already got the money though for this grant allocated for it? For the 10 machines, you haven't got anything?
No, we're still working on it.
Okay,
So you're talking about if, of course, that would be another agenda item, but if we went forward on that grant, then you're talking about the 1,000 and whatever you stated for next year's budget.
Yes. Yes, we could get it covered for this year, but for years to come, that's the amount that I would have to have in that line item to pay my rental and agreements. I just didn't want to order things and not be aware of things to come in the future.
that's what, if you had the 10 extra machines paid through for the grant, that's what we'd have to come up with then,
An
1850.
additional $1,850, yes, sir.
And that grant also, there's no match, correct?
Correct.
I know those machines are real expensive. Get a deal for 10 more of them, and that's our part. I don't think that would be, I don't see why that'd be a problem for me.
And in a presidential election like this one, we really could use, I mean, we went from 78 machines down to 40 machines. So, and I kind of cut myself a little short there. So if we could get 10 more machines, it would really help us out in each location to serve the voters.
So do we think that if we did move forward on that you would have those done and in place in time for that election?
I could have them here by the election, yes. And that's all I have. Thank y'all.
You think the grant, excuse me, Tender, you think the grant will pay off by then?
To get the machines.
Yes, I think so,
Is budget the next budget before October 1 or after?
before October.
Before October.
Well, it depends on how soon we apply. If we apply, next commissioners meeting, next commissioners court, I think it'll be by October 1st.
So those machines cost us, each one of them.
They've got a total here. Well, for 4 of them, it's 13,300.
Well, that's over $3,000 machine then.
I think we've got in that grant, we've got 40,000 available.
Yes.
It actually has up to 120,000 available, but if we request more than 40,000, then there's a 20% match above 40,000. So I told Ginger she couldn't request more than 40,000.
I used the chapter 19 from the previous grant, so I don't have it.
Looking at
we need, we like 1850 having it in her budget for this year. That's gotta have a motion made on it to increase that, that'd be good.
Well, I'm understanding it. I think what we have to do, I think we're gonna have to address that grant issue in the next meeting.
Yes, but I was thinking about this, 1850 has to be put in there to get it for her budget now, that has nothing to do with this grant.
Correct.
And it'd be another 1850 if this grant comes through,
Correct.
which would total $3,700 that needs to be allocated for her,
Judge,
if that's,
in the proposed budget, she cut all these line items. She
Yes.
needs these,
added
so a
back.
motion needs to be made for all of those. I mean, you can do it for the department, but it's not just 1850.
Right.
It's the 11.5, the 57, and the 5, because she cut those in the
Okay.
proposed budget.
And I may be misunderstanding, but I think what he's talking about is an additional 1850 to support the 10.
If you're that sure you're gonna have them by November election, I think we need to do that, get these machines in our hand. But I don't know how to exactly word this here, but I'll try it. If I make the motion to put the elections back where it was last year, plus $3,700,
Do we need the extra 1850 in this budget?
I think you've got it in there for this budget, for your software, or your rental agreements, isn't it?
I have the 1850 for Vista, for the
But you
scanning software.
And so I guess the question is, if we get the grant, we buy 10 more machines.
Mhm.
Do you need additional money in this budget to make those 10 machines operate?
You would have to have 1850.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
But just 1850, not 3,700.
Well, let me back up here, not count the other 18 for these 10 machines, you've got 1850 extra budgeted in here for rental agreements, haven't you?
For the Vista.
It's up,
But do you have that money?
I have that money.
So you got that covered then, so
Yes,
all
that
we'd
was one
have,
of the
all
previous
right.
grants.
all right, I'm with you, all we'd have to come up with is 1850 to cover these 10 new machines.
Right.
So I'll make that a formal motion, put what she cut back in her budget, plus the 1850 to cover these 10 new machines that's coming in on grant.
So you don't need the rental agreement money next year?
Yeah, I'm adding the 1850 to my rental agreements. That's where we're putting it, right?
You've added 1850 for Vista. That's what
Yes.
we got from
And
this.
now I need an additional 1850 for the express votes.
And that covers you for this year.
No, I'm talking about the proposed budget.
Mhm.
So next year you need all of your line items changed back to what they were, plus 1850, and now plus 1850 more.
You're right.
Either
Correct.
way, I'm good with it, but if you're 1850, did I understand there that you had that covered through something else?
Well, I received that grant money. Where we put in the two different line items.
We're talking about
Yeah.
next year, not this year. You received grant money this year. But we're talking about next year. What do you need next year?
I'm in October 1 forward.
Okay, well, I'm in line for Vista to set us up. So I should be able to pay it this year.
You don't have to pay it
Before
next year?
October. The 1850,
Yeah, but
I've got it in, I've got that. budgeted
this will
in.
be after.
No, you don't.
Okay,
No, that's what I'm
so I need
saying.
to bring this back.
They need a motion to put that in there,
Okay,
because that changed after the proposed budget. So
okay,
you need that 1850 in there.
okay. It's the additional.
I'm gonna
And
get it.
then do we need additional, or is that gonna cover us?
We need to put it in there. I don't want to be short.
I think it needs to be 37.
Yes.
Putting everything, make a motion, put everything back in plus 3,700 in rental agreements.
Yes, sir.
Well, need the 1850 in rental agreements for Vista and your other one? Okay, so if we could adopt or approve the election section on the worksheet and add 1850 to it, that would be more clear for the records, if that's okay.
You really got you fouled up, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm lost.
Okay, you see your budget summary, Glenda.
Which one of these?
Hey,
Does the election judges and operating expenses software need to be a separate motion?
no, if you do the elections department on the budget summary.
So 3,700 in rental agreement.
Well, I think what she's saying is we'll make a motion, I think what we're talking about is doing a motion for it as it appears on our worksheet, which is a total of $24,050, I believe, including the 1850. And then do an additional 1850 to cover the expenses for 10 more machines for next year.
That suits me fine.
Just like you just made it up there.
Sorry to be so confusing.
Well,
I just didn't want to.
you got to remember that what we're doing today, it starts after October 1. So that approves the elections plus the 1850.
25,900 total. You already found that money yet?
We got a motion, we must say.
Second. Second.
Now, we've got a motion by Commissioner Langford. We have a second by Commissioner Murphy. And do we have any further discussion on that? All in favor? All voting for.
I had a question about this deal here. This is a Jennifer question, I'm sure. That money comes in before the next year starts.
Which it should.
Well, here's a long time ago. But if it does, what's it go into?
Something about large project reimbursement.
It's going to
Go back to my gravel or whatever, but gravel.
this year. If it comes in this year, it'll go in this year.
Okay, so what happens with money? I need to pay up my, what I keep my reserves in, right?
Your cash reserve budget.
So I can get it back out.
Do you have a projected amount of building coming in the bank?
I guess what FEMA does.
75% to 310,000.
That's also, I have that same question, because I've got 342,000 about to come back. And if it comes back at the wrong time, it's gonna be bad, because I need it to do the next project. Last year, it came in just at the time where we put it in the next year, so it worked that way. It's gonna be, we get the check for after the building and paid and everything was done, so.
Yeah, if it comes in this year, it will go into this year's amendments. But if it comes in next year, or if it comes in this year, you're not gonna have it in.
Yeah,
Next
that's
year's
where
budget.
I'm at. How do you get it out? You can't,
Next year.
you can't do it, it's not emergency.
Have you got one?
I do.
Okay,
That's why I was asking, I need this.
so what was Roy's,
I
300,000?
think it's 310, might be 320.
So
But
if
it'll be
you,
75% of that.
237,000.
so if you increased it, say 275,000, if you need that in your cash reserves to operate next year, you could change the budget this year in anticipation of that.
That's what I'm at too. Okay, so I need to, I keep 100,000 right now, can I raise it up to 375 now?
Well, I mean, with the motion, I mean, I can't just do it, it has,
I'm in the same spot. Can I do the same thing? In anticipation?
in anticipation, yeah.
I'm supposed to get the amount I'm getting back is 342. So I can bump my cash reserves up in anticipation. I don't have that in my reserves to do, but with the check coming in, and it should be here by October 1st. I mean, it should be here in the next 3 weeks.
Right.
I make a motion that I need to raise my cash reserves in anticipation of receiving about $237,000 from FEMA.
How much was
$237,000, but I keep 100,000 in cash reserve now. I'd like to raise my cash reserves up to 375,000 in anticipation of getting my money back from FEMA before October 1st. To my next year's budget.
Which is about additional 50,000 to what the, and what do you want that budgeted? Gravel?
Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Commissioner Darden. We have a second by Commissioner Murphy. Any additional discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, to increase precinct one's cash reserves to 375,000? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. With anticipation of this money from FEMA coming in before October 1st.
And do I need to say, and put it in gravel line?
He's increasing cash reserves and gravel.
Cash reserves and gravel.
Yes.
All right, all in favor? All voted for.
Judge, I need to do the same thing. I had 118 in cash reserves going to be there, and I want to increase that to 350. That'll be a cushion. And in anticipation of the FEMA money that I've got, I think it's in about Q6. Is that about right, Charlie?
Verifying receipts.
Got to go Q8 till I get it back. So if I get it back, it's going to be hard to spend by October 1st.
Increase how much?
Make my cash reserve 350 and be in gravel. And we'll go in gravel.
I'll second that.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Murphy, a second by Commissioner Langford. Any discussion? All in favor? All voted for.
I have another one, Judge. This may be a total ignorant question here, but on courthouse maintenance on the mowing duties, is there any way we can get inmates to do that? Or is that a possibility, Marshall? I mean, that's $2,400. That's, if we can get them to do it.
And that's going to be up to the sheriff, I guess, if he wants inmates out there on that tractor. Because that's what's happening right now is, I'm sure you're aware, it's honestly, it's kind of sporadic.
Right.
And I do, just the short time I've been here, I've gotten complaints. And so right now what's happening is Larry Marshall goes over there when he gets time and mows it. And this was, I think, originally brought forward by Commissioner Langford. And it makes sense in that we would have I've talked to both of our maintenance guys. And what we would do is, if we do this, is we'll have a routine mowing session, if you will, that they will each take turns doing this and keeping it mowed. Now, as far as whether or not the inmates can do it, I mean,
if we have the inmates, it's kind of going different than it used to be on the trustees, because now we've got more people that fight the police and stuff, and that's kind of a thing. If they're escape risk for fighting the police, then we don't put them on the trustees, which used to they didn't have that problem, but that's what we're around to now. And just the shortage with COVID, we don't have as many inmates in there. But I'd rather them be out working than sitting back there anyway, but it's just we run into those problems.
Right.
So we don't, it would be, sometimes we'd have inmates and sometimes we wouldn't. So,
and I guess that kind of gets us back where we started. if we're using inmates and we've got an inmate that we trust to run a tractor, we're gonna be sporadic, you know, we've got a line item.
I just need to ask.
And so what that is on that line item, I mean, as you can see, it's essentially $100 a month per maintenance guy. That's
Well, I'd ask the judge to put this on here because, you know, Larry's another one of them that goes way above and beyond the kind of work he's done in the courthouse over there. And just to get this thing mowed and keep up with it, he doesn't get anything for that. And a few years ago, there was some squabbling in there and Bill Cameron come on board to take care of for TCEQ with us. But again, Larry mows it occasionally, but if Sean and Larry are willing to split this duty, I'd like to see that happen. That way, you don't have to worry about this number.
It's a piece of property that just needs to be maintained.
Yes.
So right now, Larry's going on good.
Just, I mean, like the other day, I
But if you can make this, you gotta have somebody out there with them. That's got.
If they have a supervisor,
and just from experience, I'll tell you, you would vary by inmate, but I would be real excited about having an inmate on the tractor in the first fall. So while we're on that, you have a motion?
I'll put that in the form of a motion to approve the $2,400. Didn't you say Larry and Sean's gonna split it? So
Yes, sir.
That's, figures up.
Is that's giving them $1,200 a piece more?
Yes, sir.
Are they working more hours?
No, probably not.
I don't think I think if they're working 8 hours a day, that goes back to paying the deputy. I don't think that way. If you're paid to work 8 hours a day, it don't matter what you do. So
Yeah, if we hadn't doing it after hours, we'd have to start figuring in a time and a half.
But do they not have time to do it during the day? They're 8 hour day?
Yes, they will if we assign them to them.
I think that's smart of it.
Now I'll withdraw the motion.
I mean, that goes back to just like we were asking them to.
You're exactly right there, Mike.
You know, they agree to work for that amount if they don't like that pay.
I think it's exactly the same thing. I think it's the same issue.
I mean, I hate that you have to be that way about it, but my guys, they're paid 8 hours a day. We work from fence to fence. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
You're exactly right. I'll withdraw the motion.
Anything further?
We need to vote on the highway patrol. We'll move that.
So the increase of 2,400 in courthouse maintenance will die for lack of motion.
Back for, so Bob made a motion.
I'll withdraw my motion though.
I think it would be, let's start back up at the top of this. Start back up at the top with, before we get into option A and B, let's start with safety committee. We've got, apparently what has been budgeted in the past in the safety committee, under transportation, and then also in training, we've got a figure of $500 and a figure of $225 that I'm understanding has sat there for, gosh, years and never been used. And so I propose that we cut that out. $725. Is that a motion?
I'll put that in form of a motion.
Second. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Langford. We have a second by Commissioner Murphy. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor? All vote for. Done elections. All right, the next item we have is on the tax office. They currently have a line item in there for part-time money, which is $16,000. That's currently not being used. Of course, that is one of the discussions that we had was, that we'll get to back on one of these other options. That was money that, should we move forward on these additional positions as far as raises, that 16,000 would probably move there. But on this item, we have part-time money of 16,000 in the tax office, and this is proposed to have that removed.
I'll make a motion that we remove that 16,000.
Second. So I have a motion by Commissioner Murphy. I have a second by Commissioner Mayfield. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. The next item I have is the sheriff's software. And the sheriff and I have discussed this. The program that he wants is a great program. I'm well familiar with it. I just, and as I discussed with him, we just probably can't afford that this year. What I have proposed in talking to Justice Solutions is we can get them 6 additional operation licenses so that they can have 6 additional people online. Because right now they are in a bind. I've been over there. They get on the intercom. They say, anybody of Justice Solutions, please get off so so-and-so can get on. And so what this does is this adds $13,860 to his budget to get him those six additional licenses, user licenses, to get him out of a bind, at least for this year.
I'll make a motion that we add 6 additional licenses for current software to the sheriff's.
So motion by Commissioner Murphy and a second by Commissioner Darden. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. All right, the next item is the Highway Patrol Secretary position in the Bowie office. That office was vacated mid-December, has never been filled. I have discussed this with the DPS sergeant. That's a total of the salary and benefits is a total of $61,612. And I propose that we cut that out of our budget as they're not using it.
Motion to cut.
Second. So I have a motion by Commissioner Langford. I have a second by Commissioner Mayfield. Any further discussion?
That all paid by the Stark County?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know if that was like a district thing, because I know they're
Place that in 8 months.
They have one in Clay County that they're funding.
They're close enough.
And they were all in favor? All voted for. All right, which brings us down. Let's step over. What I've done, gentlemen, is I've got, in this proposed budget, I've got 2 options. I've called them option A and option B. Option A is what we've just gone through. Option B gives us the additional increase in what we have is 5 secretarial positions that we've discussed this morning. One's in the county clerk's office, one's in the veterans office, one's in the county court, one's in the district clerk's office, and the other one is in the tax office. That gives us a total addition to $75,170 to straighten those salaries out. What that does is it would change our tax rate from 0.5641 to 5.691. What that is, that's a half a cent per 100,000. That's $5 a year for $100,000. It's about the same as buying this cup of coffee every 6 months. Sir?
That 61,000, we just cut out of that other office, ain't gonna affect it.
That's included in this. That's in that option.
Let me ask a question to Kathy here. On one of the sheets that you give me this morning, or I guess everybody's got it, what is the voter approval tax rate that you've got of 58.58? Is that this, I call the no new tax rate, that's the old effective rate to me. Is that 58.58 what it would be if it's increased to the maximum 3.4, whatever it is that?
The 58.58 is what we used to call as the rollback rate. So now it's called the voter approval rate. And that is the maximum you can go without going into election.
So that would be, and the maximum now is, I think, 3.5. So if you had it.
That's with the calculation of 3.5%.
Yes, okay, I just want to make sure I was with you on that.
I just want to be clear, I'm not for giving raises to the secretaries, that's just not the time to do it.
I just don't think we can this year. That no new tax rate is 1.5 cents above what the tax rate was last year. And I sit and visit with people all day that's had to lay people off. And, just because they didn't have the, couldn't do it when oil dropped, oil's coming back. I agree with that. But it's, right now with this COVID, everything's uncertain, so many people unemployed. I don't see how in the world I could ever, especially when I've got the opportunity to, that will be a tax increase, but it's not charged to us in here because it just goes back to the effective rate. And I feel like that happened.
So as it stands, 5641 is that's where we're at.
Be 5641 without those increases. With the increases in salaries, it's 5691.
Yes. I'll make the motion to pull, not to put these pay increases in place on the secretary's position.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Langford and a second by Commissioner Mayfield to move forward on this budget proposal without the salary increases. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I'm opposed.
3-4, 1 opposed.
You got okay.
All right. Anything additional on the workshop?
On this, option A, I'd call it this benefits here, Judge, on just below the secretary's position of 16,538. Just clear, is that Jennifer, do you, am I
That would have been what those benefits would have been.
75 plus 16,000? So it would have been.
It's a total, it's a salary of 41.5 and change with benefits of 20,000.
Yes.
So we're total of 61,620.
Okay, well, we were actually looking more than the 75,170 plus benefits.
Well, actually, that's built in on option B. All of that is built into that figure.
So it's built into the 70, it doesn't matter, I'm not gonna change nothing. By doing that, and that keeps us under the effective rate, doesn't it?
It has us at what used to be the effective rate, and I think it's now called the no new revenue.
One thing, Judge, that I meant to mention in it first, of course, everybody knows we've been trying to work on our retirement, get it paid up to 100%. And with cash and we're as far as our money in the bank, I'd like to put another 300,000 in contingency. That makes it a total of 600,000 in there. And there, we don't use it, may use half of it for put in retirement, whatever we decide at the end of this coming year, but I'll put that in the form of a motion to have a total of 600,000 in contingency.
Increase the 300,000 by another 300,000.
Yes.
Second.
All right, so I've got a motion by Commissioner Langford to increase that figure and a second by Commissioner Garden. Any additional discussion? All in favor? All voted for. All right, anything further in the workshop? Good. So then what we'll do is let's move then to what would be item 14 on our agenda. This is to accept the certified values in the appraisal district. Kathy Phillips, our tax assessor, will present those certifications of appraised values for the tax year 2020, and we'll take necessary action.
I'm gonna read off the net values for 2020. And the breakdown is real and personal property. The net value is $1,287,068,065. The mineral property is $664,182,160. The rolling stock is $12,870,227, and that comes out to $1,964,120,452.
All right, do we have a motion to accept those figures?
I'll make a motion to accept the certification of appraised values for 2020.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Langford and a second by Commissioner Murphy. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. Then Ms. Phillips, number 15, present the no new revenue and voter approval tax rate for the tax year 2020 and take necessary action.
Okay, for the 2020 tax rates, the no new revenue tax rate is 0.5641 per 100. The voter approval tax rate, I'm going to break that down. The M&O tax rate general fund is 0.4401. The M&O special road and bridge fund is 0.1289 per 100. The debt rate is 0.0168 per 100, coming out to a total of 0.5858 per 100. And that's the voter approval tax rate.
Make a motion to accept the no new revenue and voter approval tax rate for the year 2020.
Second.
So a motion by Commissioner Murphy and a second by Commissioner Langford. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. And on item 16, discuss and consider the proposed tax rate. We'll take a record vote on that. And then we'll also schedule a public hearing and take necessary action. So our proposed tax rate will be the no new revenue rate of 0.5641. And Commissioner Langford, how do you vote?
For.
Commissioner Murphy, how do you vote?
For.
Commissioner Darden, how do you vote?
For.
Commissioner Mayfield, how do you vote?
For.
All right. We'll schedule a public hearing to discuss that tax rate on our next hearing, on our next regular scheduled court, which is August 24th, 2020 at 8:30 a.m.
Judge, does your vote need to be on the record?
I think so.
And I vote for it.
So you need a motion to
Yes.
have the public hearing for August the 24th at 8:30, did you say that?
Yes.
Make that a form of motion.
Second.
So I've got a commissioner, got a motion by Commissioner Murphy and a second by Commissioner Langford. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. And then item 17, we'll set a public hearing date for the fiscal year 2020-2021 county budget and take necessary action. And I'd like to set that for also August 24th, 2020 at 8:45 a.m. for that public hearing.
Make a motion that we set the public hearing for fiscal year 2020, 2021, or 8:45 on August 24th.
Second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Murphy, I have a second by Commissioner Langford. Any further discussion? All in favor? All voted for. And so last, we will adopt our county budget and our tax rate on August 24th at the 9 a.m. meeting, and once those public hearings are. I think that concludes our business.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Langford, second by Commissioner Murphy. All in favor? All voted for. Yes, and we'll have these plats to sign.